Ever since I was young, I wanted to create change, I wanted to make a difference, and it hasn't always been an easy path. It's all too common, I think, amongst change makers for burnout to happen. We feel like we have to work harder and grow quicker and sacrifice ourselves. So I think we need a fundamental shift in how we approach change, and it needs to be learning from countries like Bhutan.
Bhutan is a small country, really wedged between two giants. We believe deeply in ourselves that we as a small country will be the new development paradigm.
The Slow Change Experience is a 10-day transformation in Bhutan. It's an experience to completely change the paradigm of thinking and how we create social change and how we measure that change. So we have participants from Australia and also overseas.
When I heard about Bhutan and how they measure happiness on a national scale, I thought this is the place to learn and to be able to take it back to my own context.
People in my community are craving for a different way to do things, and I'd like to share this experience and how the Bhutanese culture incorporate well-being, happiness, the environment and development at the same time.
We've had opportunities to do mindfulness and meditation and mindful walking, which has been one of my highlights, walking through this beautiful countryside. And the opportunity to listen to people's stories has been incredible. I've never done that in my life.
Getting to know the principles of G&H to get an insight in how the Parliament actually considers G&H and maybe operationalises G&H.
What I've learnt is we can't achieve a global transformation or a global happiness until we transform ourselves within.
The 10 days have gone just like that. I don't even realize. I don't know how they have gone.
Reflecting on the slow change experience, one person said, it couldn't go any faster.
If there's one message I want to share with the group going forward, is actually the power of the group itself. We're much more powerful together. We're greater than the sum of our parts.
I guess the message is to remember how unique and special this opportunity was. So I think it's remembering that positive energy, and I think for me that's really restoring my faith in humanity.
My prayer, my wish, my love for them is that they really bring inner transformation for themselves so that they can really become the societal change.
I'd like all of us to remember how the Bhutanese people have touched our heart and made us feel very welcome in their country, but also just remember how we've all transformed within, and to hold on to that transformation and go home with new inspiration, and to really hold on to the memories that we've had here in Bhutan.
It feels like a dream. Just one day left now, tomorrow. Don't feel like letting them go. And I was telling few of the Australians that you can take me like a joey, like a kangaroo in their pocket to Australia together.
I was losing hope, but today I feel very proud. You make me so proud, and thank you so much.
So a story that's obviously very close to my heart. Just a little side note actually there. So that story was fully created by the participants in the Slow Change Experience, using their smartphones, going out around Bhutan and capturing some really magical moments, which they now want to share with the rest of the world using the power of storytelling. And one of those storytellers is Glen from Bush Heritage Australia, who has a deep passion for the environment and who's on an incredible storytelling journey. And now we'll cross over to Glen, who's coming to us live from Melbourne.
Hi, Kuzo Zangpola.
Kuzo Zangpola.
What does that mean? Okay, in Bhutanese, obviously. Glen, wow. Great, that's an amazing experience that you had there going to Bhutan. Tell us the best moment that you had there that you always look back on.
Yeah, well, I think it's really hard to narrow it down to just one, but the one, really, jaw-dropping moment for me was when, connecting with, like-minded change makers. And at the time, they were total strangers. I knew Tash from a Project Campfire workshop, and that led me on the journey. So, in the stunning and beautiful backdrop of Bhutan, we were in a country where they're actually leading by example, and the Bhutanese people genuinely care about the well-being of their environment and their community, whilst embracing sustainable development in the true sense of the word. It was quite refreshing.
Is that the reason that you decided to joined the trip there and why you were working on a story from there and participating in that experience. Tell us a bit more about the background of what's connecting you into that space, why you decided to go.
Absolutely. So I've always been looking to sort of come out of my corner and see where I could contribute and give back to a social change program. I've always tried to maintain a really good work-life balance, but the new way of thinking for me now is a work-life and a giving back balance. There's three things to that now. And when I saw the opportunity for the slow change experience, I had a moment that we all shared, and it was a lightning bolt moment. I got goosebumps, and I knew I had to go to Bhutan and to see what all the fuss was about.
Okay, fantastic. Now, for those who didn't come on this experience, imagine that everybody had that around us. And then if everybody had that, like a bit of the slice of what you guys got to experience that, what would the world look like? What would be the impact of something like that?
Wow, I get goosebumps just thinking about what that might look like. I guess there's a couple of things. It's interesting that it's such a novel concept for not just the Bhutanese government, but the Bhutanese royal family. They're dedicated and committed to looking after and factoring in the well-being of the environment and the community that live within the environment. And they basically say, why else are we here if we're not going to do that? So it's sad that that's actually quite a novel concept, where in an ideal world, in a utopian world, that would be embraced across the globe. So what it would look like, I guess, it's important to consider that they are pro-development. They are looking at development and economic development, but they're looking at it in the true sense of the triple bottom line, as far as let's factor in impacts of on the environment and on the well-being of the community. So, and I'm sure if we did that, then the world would be a much happier place. We'd see a lot less conflict, and there'd be a lot more joy and love in the world.
Fantastic. Now, just a reminder to our audience that's tuning in here, we really want to see your comments and questions for Glen, or comments about storytelling, questions about storytelling in general, that we can share a bit of that. Now, Tash, you said, Glen, you've been on, she said about you that you've been on an incredible storytelling journey. Maybe through that you could share some things about what you've learned about storytelling. We like to call it impact storytelling over here. That's storytelling to make a difference, basically, make a positive impact in the world. So do you have any thoughts about that journey for you? Maybe just start with a bit of background for me about what that is.
I think first and foremost, the journey for me was, and what digital storytellers did for me, and the way you guys deliver those programs is confidence, is giving people confidence to do this. And I think once we get that confidence that we can make really interesting stories in the video medium, and we don't have to do, we don't have to spend years doing a film degree at an exclusive film course. We can actually make really stimulating and captivating videos because it's coming from a really genuine and sincere place. And that's the essence. So for digital storytellers to be building capacity in the social change movement, to create stories and to create more positive and hopefully, world-changing stories, it just didn't get any better than that for me. I totally fell in love with the concept. I kept in touch with it, and it ultimately led me to going to Bhutan to learn more about myself, how I might be able to contribute to the social change movement, and how I might be able to, get better at storytelling.
I heard that you went to meet Megan and Gab as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. I met Megan and Gab at Project Campfire in Victoria.
Yes.
I fell in love with the concept of what they were embarking upon, and I had no idea it was going to be a 12-month journey. So I caught up with those guys just before they left Melbourne, and we had coffee just by the Yarra, and I thought, well, actually, I'm going to be in a similar part of the world, and I'd love to drop in on the way home. So after the Bhutan experience, I met the gals in the Mekong. I walked for a day, probably about 15 kilometres. So no,
Is that
blisters, no blisters for me.
You could have done more than that.
We shared some time, and I have incredible respect, and I really take my hat off to what those girls are doing. It's tough, their resilience, but as they're gaining momentum, the story's getting out there, and I just think it's fantastic what they're doing.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll throw to the audience now that's tuned in and listening in here. Tash has a view on some comments and some questions for you, Glen.
Yeah,
Sure.
so a question from Samantha. So from a conservationist point of view, what can G&H offer Australia?
Yeah, it's a great question, Samantha. I think from the conservation point of view, it's and particularly for the way I approach my work, is that we're all in this together. There's no separation from food production. There's no separation from an urban environment. We are living in the environment. We have what we call that ecocentric, where we are not master of the environment. We are the environment, and we live within the environment. So I think it's building that positivity with good stories, and there are a lot of really good stories going on in the conservation world. It's not all doom and gloom. If we can get that buy-in from the broader community, that we're all in this together. And I love talking to pitchfork-wielding farmers. I love talking to really deep green vegans and everybody in between. I love them all, but we're all in this together. And that's where the power of positive messaging in conservation can help this movement.
Absolutely. And how did the experience change how you live your everyday life?
On a personal level, it has changed me quite dramatically. I'm a lot more aware of, looking after myself, and I don't want to sound selfish with that, but as far as self-care, I think I've always been quite a compassionate person, and a lot of us neglect ourselves. So I've learned some tips as far as self-care practices. Meditation, I'd never done formal meditation before. Being mindful and being a bit more present with your friends and families, and we're all connected in the digital age, which is fantastic. But it's also good just to be mindful that human connection is still very important.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Glen, for joining us. Again, it's great to catch up and hear where the journey is going for you. And hopefully together we can continue to share the message of gross national happiness with Australia.
Thanks for having me. It certainly restored my faith in humanity. So thank you.
Thank you, Glen, for joining us.